Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Sean's the name, and today we're going to be looking at what home values could look like by the year 2030. So I'd like to shed some insight on what the housing market will actually look like in 7 to 8-ish years. Let's do it. Okay, now before I jump into the metrics on what I look at in terms of actually evaluating what a property is going to be worth in the future, one, hit that like button, but two, more importantly, look at these crazy statistics or these crazy valuations that CNBC and RenoFi are predicting. So what blows my mind the most is that even though we saw record level appreciation rates over the last 2 to 3 years, we're still averaging normal appreciation rates if we were to take it over a 15 to 20 year span. That just shows you how predictable real estate investing or just owning real estate actually is. And I'll go into more of that in just a little bit, but check out this chart. Based on some super basic level analysis on home appreciation, here's where RenoFi puts home values in each state by 2030. California, of course, is topping the list with average home prices being just over $1 million for the entire state. Now, my state of Arizona is actually repping pretty well by just barely squeezing into the top 10 at about $550,000, so that's cool. But you notice there's tons of cheaper states on here like West Virginia, Ohio, and Louisiana. What's actually crazier is if you look at projected home values broken down by city, you see that California absolutely dominates. But my hometown of Mesa, Arizona is actually still repping nicely. So that's always cool. But what a lot of people do when they see charts or information like this is they start running, fun, cool scenarios in their head, and they go, oh, if I were to buy a house at this point, then my house is going to be worth X amount of dollars, and I'm going to be absolutely rich. But I got to tell you that the analysis that they did for these valuations by 2030 is essentially just taking the appreciation rate over the last 10 years and pretty much moving that forward another 10 years to say, here's what home value is going to be like. Again, this is going to be a very rudimentary way of kind of evaluating what a home's value is going to be. I personally wouldn't use this method because it doesn't account for any changes that could happen during that 10-year span. So this gives us a general idea, but I want to break it down even further and share with you what I personally look at when evaluating what a home is going to be worth. So there's two main factors that I'll look at, and one of those is going to be how residential real estate has done basically over the last century, over a long period of time. What has it specifically done? And then the second thing is, what is the market currently doing at this exact point in time? And you hear people say, myself included, that home values appreciate anywhere from 4 to 6% every single year. And if you look at home values over a very long period, this is the truth. But you have to remember that this will vary based on location. For example, in Arizona, we've seen an average of 7 to 8% over the last 50 years, but other places might have seen appreciation rates of 3 to 4%. So while it's gonna depend, let's just use an easy number of 5% appreciation rate every single year when it comes to residential real estate. And this is what seasoned investors are gonna use. They're gonna use a 5% appreciation rate because, one, they're hopefully going to be buying a property at a discount because they are an investor. And secondly, they want to use something that's a little bit in the norm. Maybe their area gets 6 to 7%, but they want to use that 5% norm just in case something were to happen. So because of this is what most people are going to do. They're going to take their home value and go, my home is going to appreciate at 5% a year. And so if my home is worth X in 5 years, it's going to be worth Y. And you can do that, but I don't personally do that. What I recommend is that you actually look at your specific area to see what the appreciation rate has been over the last X amount of years. For example, West Virginia has appreciated on average at 4.8% per year since 1975, whereas Arizona has appreciated at 7.9% since 1975. While the numbers seem relatively small between the two, this is a huge difference in determining what a property is going to be worth. Let me visualize it for you. A $100,000 house in Arizona and a $100,000 house in West Virginia are going to have these values after 30 years at those specific appreciation rates. Arizona is going to be close to $1 million house, and West Virginia is going to be not even $500,000. Pretty crazy, right? That's why you want to look at your specific area to see what home values are doing. And obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. Something major might change in your city that would either increase prices a ton or lower prices a ton. But at least it gives you more of a baseline than the 5% rule. But that's the history. Now let's move to part 2, which is looking at what homes are doing currently, present day. If homes have been going down in your area over the past 1, 2, 3 years, or maybe they've been flatlining or not necessarily appreciating at maybe what the history has said it should do, then you need to take that into account. And this is just like data analysis 101. You can't expect a 50-year data set to essentially impact what's currently happening in the market. 47 years of data might give you a way higher average than what's recently doing in the last 3 years. You see this a lot with businesses. Businesses always doing this, and then all of a sudden, most recent years, they're kind of going like this. Basically, if you're on a much slower growth rate in today's day and age, you need to factor that in. So let's go back to the example, okay? Arizona, right? It has seen a 7.9% appreciation rate since 1975, but let's look at historically what it's been doing in recent years according to Redfin. You can see that we've had a nice jump in values, like pretty much everyone else, at the beginning of 2020 and have kept that growth strong up until about May of this year. At this point in time, we're on a downwards trajectory that will likely correct until it flatlines again. That's why at this point in time, it is not accurate to say that, hey, if the house is worth $400,000 today, we can use a 7 to 10% appreciation rate over the next 10 years. That would not be a fair statement to say because of the recent data. It just wouldn't make sense over the next 7 to 8 years, which is what we would consider a short-term change in real estate. Now, if you're going something more long-term, let's say you said, hey, I want to see what my property is going to be worth in 25 years, then yeah, that historical data is going to be a more accurate representation of what that house is going to be worth. But in the short term, which in real estate, anything under 10 years is considered short term, it's not an accurate representation. So let's play this example out again so you can visualize it, because I like to essentially take the historical data and apply adjusters of the recent data. So if we had a house in Arizona worth $100,000, we'll put up 2 right here. We have a $100,000 house in Arizona, and let's say we appreciate it at a 7.9 appreciation rate over the next 8 years. That's the value we're going to get. It's like $180,000 or something like that. Now, if we were to actually use a more realistic representation of what home prices should do, we got the same $100,000 house right here, but I'm going to use an adjuster. Now, I'm no real estate master, guru, prediction guy. No one has a crystal ball in real estate, but I'm going to say that we should see a correction of about 15 to 20% over the next 1, 2, 3 years. Who knows how long that might take? And that's because we've seen absolutely unreal appreciation rates in the last 2 to 3 years. We saw like a 45 to 50% appreciation on residential real estate houses. That is not normal, okay? So if our market adjusted 15 to 20% down, we're still seeing an absolute insane gain over a 3-year average. It comes out to like 12.7%. So that's 12.7% appreciation rate over the last 3 years if you accounted for a 20% drop in the market. That's like really, really good still, considering we typically average 7.9. But that means my 100K house will drop about 20% in a year, flatline to level out for another year, and then for the years after that, it'll appreciate back at that 7.9% appreciation rate, which gives us this value. About $126,000 is really where I would pin that home's value by year 2030 versus the heightened number, just because of what the market is currently doing. You notice that it's still a lot higher than $100,000, and that's just in a short-term 7 to 8 year window. That's why I love real estate so much. It might go up and down, but it's always trending upwards. And that's for a lot of reasons, which is a whole nother video in and of itself. But I want to point out too real quick that a lot of people might say, Sean, it took way longer for the housing market to recover on the last crash. I don't think we would see everything correct in 1 to 2 years. But one thing that's worth noticing is, everything in today's day and age is moving way quicker than it was in the past. Everyone has access to a trading app on their phone. They're looking at stocks every single day. Everyone has access to 24/7 news apps. I mean, the world is moving so much quicker because of the communication and because of the tools we have on phones these days, that I really think that, the market, and not just real estate, but all markets are going to move way quicker. So something that might have taken, 3 years to 5 years to happen in the past could potentially happen in 3 to 5 months these days. And a prime example of that is how fast our real estate market went up and also how fast interest rates have gone up. The world is just a different place these days. Everything happens way faster. Amazon Prime is like a perfect example of this. Who would have thought that getting a product in 1 to 2 days could happen? And nowadays, we're like, 1 to 2 days isn't fast enough. I want it in like 3 hours. It's pretty crazy the world we live in these days, but this is pretty much what I wanted to break down. It is not an accurate representation to say that home prices are always going to increase at a 7.9% appreciation at a specific point in time. Yes, over a long period of time, that is the truth. But in a very short period of time, it is not. And that's why those charts and statistics at the beginning of the video are always cool and dandy to look at, but this is the way I like to typically evaluate real estate. And I got to mention again, obviously no one has a crystal ball and knows where the market's going. Obviously, if we go to war and have, some sort of nuclear bomb destroy half of the country, then real estate's going to be a lot different. Obviously, there's a million factors that can come into play, but hopefully this video kind of broke down what I specifically look at and what you can kind of predict home values to be by 2030. Because that is a very hot topic right now. The thing you always have to remember is that home prices will always be going in an upwards trajectory. Homes appreciate. Bottom line, they always appreciate. It's just a matter of how much time. So if you're thinking about buying a house, you always have to think about, what is my overall long-term strategy? Am I looking to buy something, live in it for 6 to 18 months and then sell it? Because if you are, maybe now's not a good time to buy. But if you're looking to build generational wealth, if you're looking to, get into a property that you specifically own and you're going to keep for a long time, or maybe you're going to trade that home up for something better later down the line, there's no better day to buy real estate than yesterday. No matter the market, the quicker you can acquire more real estate, the better off you're going to be. Talk to any real estate investor. They will tell you, regardless of the market, they are almost always buying. The quicker you can buy, the better off you'll be. And that's the same philosophy I personally follow. The quicker I can buy more real estate, the better, because I never plan on selling any of it. If the payment makes sense or the cash flow makes sense in case it's an investment property, then the purchase makes sense, regardless of what the market's doing. But anyway, that's a wrap on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. And please drop me a comment down below. I would love to hear your opinion on where you think home prices will be by 2030. It's a hot topic. Everyone likes to ask me about it these days, so I figured I'd make a video on it. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.